Hello students, welcome to MBA 360. In a continuous series of covering some of the B schools that you should be looking for, what we're going to talk about now is the TAPMI Institute of Management, which is called TAPMI, popularly called TAPMI. TAPMI earlier was a standalone institution. Now it is a part of the MAHE, which is Manipal Academy of Higher Education, which is a deemed to be university. And more importantly, it's an institution of eminence, which means it's one of the best universities that you have in the country, which the government of India thinks has the potential of actually cracking the global ranking and being in the top 100 in the world over, right? Which is where MAHE is. And now, earlier they were giving a PGDM program, now they give an MBA degree in that sense, right? So we're talking of TAPMI, which is TAPMI Management Institute in Manipal. By the way, the location itself is very, very beautiful. When you study in Manipal, you actually enjoy nature. It is, if you're any of the cities, you will actually breathe fresh oxygen out there. So you must look at this institution if you are looking at a good B school in the best location around, and that is what it is. We're going to talk about the selection process, the eligibility criteria, the weightages, the placements, the fees, everything that has to do with TAPMI Institute of Management. Now, TAPMI was established in 1980, right? Which means it has a 45-year-old legacy, which also means that you will find the students of TAPMI all over the world working in big corporations, big companies, because 45 years journey means that their alumni would be all over the world and in the best companies and possibly in very senior roles also, right? The institution at this point is the Constitution College of MAHE, which is Manipal Academy of Higher Education, I told you, which is also called Manipal University, right? The campus is 44.11 acres. It's a very beautiful campus again, if you look at it, all green, fantastic buildings, no tall rises, and so on and so forth. The ranking, NR ranking is 39 best B school in the country. The total students is 1,138, right? Of which 62% are boys and 38% are girls, right? So typically you should always look at it that a good B school will have more than 90% students from outside the state, and a normal or local B school will have students from around the state itself. So that's one indicator that you must always look for, which is public perception of how the B school is, and that you can see it very closely here. And the faculty is 81, which means that you have 1:13 kind of a student faculty ratio, which is again decent. Now, what is the kind of placement that TAPMI has over the years? All the last 3 years, if you see, for which we have data at this point in time, there's been a 100% placement, right? If you look at it, 454 is admitted, 449 graduated, 449 placed. 437 admitted, 429 graduated, 429 placed. 597 admitted, 514 graduated. So there is a gap here, right? But all the 514 were placed. And 100% placement at 13.09 lakh. So everywhere you notice that you are dealing with a 100% placement at about 13 lakh median salary, which is very, very good because of the kind of scale at which they operate. They actually, their intake is quite high and still they're able to place all the students. Now, what is the kind of other details of placement that they have? Average salary is 13.99 lakh. Remember, 13.09 lakh was a median salary. Now we're talking about average salary, which is 13.99 lakh. Highest salary is 32.77 lakh. The top 50% students here get 18 lakhs and above. So if you're in the top half, the salary that you're likely to get is 18 lakh and above, right? Which is 1.5 lakh a month, right? And the average salary for the top 100% is 16.74 lakh. So coming to the salary that is being offered at TAPMI Manipal, we looked at the placements earlier, but let's get into a more granular data. As I said, remember the median salary was 13.09 lakh. The average salary is 13.99 lakh, which is close to 14 lakh, which means that the numbers are pretty good. It's far better than what you have as a median salary. The highest salary is 32.77 lakh. The top 50 students, if you look at it as an average, it's 18.19 lakh. The top 50 students, right? If you take the top 100 students, it's 16.74 lakh. And if you take the top 200 students, it is 15.04 lakhs. So what it means is that the placement offers that are coming into the B school are evenly spread out, because of which it is actually, the trending is very smooth kind of a fall is what it is seeing. And at 14 lakh average salary and 15.04 for the top 200 students, the bottommost would be about 10-11 lakh rupees and not below that. That's what it looks like at this point in time, right? Now, what is the kind of, fee that it has? About 19.5 lakh is the fee, TAPMI. And besides that, there are other fee structures of a few rupees here and there. But remember, as I keep telling you, the campus is beautiful, the location is beautiful, and the institution has been there for 45 years. So it's a good B school for you to apply to, right? Now, what is the sector-wise placement of TAPMI? This is very important for you to understand, because typically what happens is, the better the B school, you will actually have more students being placed in consulting, strategy, operations, finance, and those kind of things, and then keeps coming down. The roles are evenly spread. But when you keep going down the funnel of the bottommost B schools, you'll actually have a lot more roles to do with sales and business development. Because the roles of sales and business development, when you actually have more number of students being pushed there, it essentially means that it's an ROI metric, and you can just lose your job overnight in that sense because you don't achieve your targets, right? But in this particular B school, when you look at the overall thing, you actually have IT analytics being 18%, consulting being 22%, BFSA 39%, FMCG and retail is just 4%. And others 17%, right? But when you look at these numbers, you're dealing with about 80% going into IT, analytics, consulting, and BFSI, which is a very good, detailing for you to understand, which also is to do with the fact of the kind of, specialization that they have, which is banking and finance, IB, marketing, tech, and AIDS. So when you actually have the AI and data sciences or technology or banking and finance and general MBA, of course, obviously your placements would be leaning towards that, which is what you actually see here, that you actually have IT analytics having 18% because they actually have data science and AI. Then you have consulting because you actually have BFSI and general thing. Then you have BFSI again because you actually have a course in banking and finance, and so on and so forth. So you can actually very clearly see that they're able to get good recruiters coming in for the specialization that they offer. And even the average salary of across the board is very, very good. So it is pretty clear about how they're performing themselves. The kind of companies that come for recruitment, again, the best of the best are coming in here. Accenture, Citi, EY, Adani, Anakin, Digit, PwC, Axis Bank, Bluestone, Himalaya, ITC, GEP, HCL, Deserve, Cogitate, Cognizant, Decathlon, Dell, Equus, Alstom, Hexaware, Piramal, Tech Mahindra, Intellipart, Northstar, Wakefit, Infosys, ICICI Bank, Capgemini, Comscope, Crisil, HDFC Life, and Great West. So I think we have all kinds of companies. Depending on the specialization, these companies are going there and recruiting. So we actually have good companies coming and frequenting the place. By the way, I keep saying this, whenever an institution has been there for a long time, because their alumni is spread all over the country and possibly in senior roles everywhere, the recruitment or the placement season is slightly better than when it's a new institution, which is what seems to be happening here also. Now, one of the things that I always look for is how mobile is the student of the institution when they pass out, right? And especially when you have a 45-year-old legacy, it has to be slightly better. So when you looked at that data, right, there are 87% students of TAPMI which are working in India, which also means that 13% students are working outside of India, which means that they have found a great career path, that they have, grown to, global roles possibly, because of which 13% students who, were placed in India possibly have moved out of India because they started. And that's what happens when you work in Citi and global, many of the FMCG companies and all. You can actually join a company, but you grow towards a global role and, start moving out of India and working, which is what happened here. About 4% students work in US. About 2% students work in Canada, about 1.5% students work in UK, about 1% students work in Dubai, which is what seems to be happening here, which is what, it is a good reflection of a good B school in the sense, because the students have grown really beyond India, right? Now, if you want me to cover any such B school that beyond TAPMI, this of course TAPMI, but by the way, the admission dates, you must look at it, because I talked of good B schools where you should be applying for. The 15th October 25 is the application commencement date. 29th December, which means by the end of this month, the application deadline closes. So you apply for it right now if you've not already done that. 10th April 26 is the tentative final selection first list announcement, because the results for CAT would come in soon and then they'll start working on. And the session commences in June, July 2026. What is the weightage based on which you actually get admission? 35% is the CAT score, CAT, XAT, GMAT. So they accept all the 4 examinations. So 35% weightage is for that. Score for academic performance of the class 10th, 12th and graduation is 15%. So between these two, it's 50%, right? GD and written ability and personal interview is 45%. And weightage for gender diversity and extracurricular activities is 5%. Right. So 50% being for the CAT score and 50% for the group discussion, person interview, written ability test, and any other thing that you might actually have, which is a weightage that they give for gender diversity or any other extracurricular that where you can actually claim it's a good thing, right? So if you want me to cover any other B school like this, please write to me here in the message box. I'll be happy to cover that. And if you want to be talking to any one of us, send a message on this number and one of our counselors will call you to understand what you want. At some point in time, hopefully, if we all find space and time, you can also talk to me or any one of my senior counselors to help you get into the right B school. Thank you so much. Namaste.